Have you ever found yourself looking at your child, maybe as they head off to school or when they come home, and there's this quiet little ache in your heart because you know they're finding it a bit tough to connect with other kids? That feeling when you sense they might be navigating the often bumpy road of making new friends, and perhaps feeling a little lonely along the way? It's one of those parenting worries that can really tug at us, can't it? We want our children to feel happy, to feel like they belong, to have those wonderful childhood friendships that bring so much joy and learning. So, when we see them struggling in that area, it's natural to feel a deep desire to help, to smooth the path for them. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together today. We're not going to talk about quick fixes or magic wands, because honestly, those rarely exist in parenting, do they? Instead, we're going to gently unpack this challenge of a child having difficulty making new friends at school. We'll look at it with compassionate eyes and explore some practical, heartfelt ways we can understand what's happening for our child and support them through it. Think of this as a quiet conversation, a chance to gather some gentle guidance and reassurance. So, where do we even begin when our child is finding it hard to make those social connections? Well, I think one of the most powerful first steps we can take is to try and understand what might be going on for them from their perspective. It's about tuning in, isn't it? Really listening, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. You see, every child is so unique, a little universe of their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. So, when we see them struggling to make friends, there isn't a one-size-fits-all reason. Sometimes, it might be that our child is naturally more introverted, someone who recharges their batteries by being alone and finds large groups of children overwhelming. And that's perfectly okay. The world needs those thoughtful, introspective souls, but even introverted children often desire a close friend or two. So, understanding their temperament is a really good starting point. It's not about changing who they are, but about helping them find their way to connect in a way that feels right for them. For instance, my neighbor's son, a wonderfully contemplative boy, found large group play really difficult. His mom realized he thrived in one-on-one interactions. So, she started by arranging very small, quiet playdates with just one other child who shared his love for building elaborate train tracks. It was a game changer for him. Perhaps they're feeling a little shy or anxious in new social situations. Think about it. Walking into a bustling classroom or a noisy playground can feel like a lot for a little person, especially if they're not sure how to break into a game or join a conversation. They might be worried about being rejected or not knowing what to say. These are big feelings for small shoulders. I remember a little girl in my niece's class who would cling to her mom's leg every morning. Her mom shared with me that the little one would later confess her tummy hurt just thinking about asking someone to play. It's a very real fear for some children. Sometimes, it can be about practical skills. Making friends involves a whole host of subtle social skills. Things like knowing how to start a conversation, how to listen to others, how to share, how to read social cues, how to handle disagreements. These skills don't always come naturally to every child. They often need to be learned and practiced, just like learning to ride a bike or tie their shoelaces. And we can be their gentle coaches in this. We might notice, for example, that our child tends to talk at other children rather than with them, or perhaps they struggle with taking turns during a game. These are teachable moments, if approached with patience and understanding. And then there are the situations where a child might be new to a school, or maybe they've had a negative experience in the past that's made them a bit more wary. Imagine being the new kid, trying to find your place in a sea of unfamiliar faces. Or perhaps they've been teased or left out before, and that hurt has made them build a little protective wall around themselves. Our role then becomes about helping them feel safe enough to try again, to trust again. A friend of mine moved her family mid-year, and her son, who was usually quite outgoing, clammed up at his new school. He'd had a tough time with a bully at his previous school, and that fear lingered. It took a lot of gentle reassurance and small positive experiences for him to start opening up again. So how do we start to uncover what's really going on for our child? Well, it often begins with simply creating space for them to share without any pressure. It's about those quiet moments, maybe on a walk or while you're baking together, or at bedtime, when you can gently ask open-ended questions. Something like, "I've noticed you've been a bit quiet after school lately. How are things going with the other kids?" Or, "Is there anyone at school you enjoy spending time with?" The key is to listen more than we talk, to validate their feelings, even if they seem small to us. If they say, "No one wants to play with me," instead of jumping in with solutions like, "Well, did you try asking them?" Maybe we could just say, "Oh, honey, that must feel really lonely." That empathy, that understanding can open the door for them to share more. Observation is another gentle tool. Watch how your child interacts in different social settings if you have the chance. Are they hesitant? Do they hang back? Do they try to join in but maybe miss the mark a little? This isn't about judging them, but about gathering information so we can better support them. Remember, we're like detectives of the heart, trying to piece together the puzzle of our child's experience with kindness and curiosity. And once we have a little more understanding of what might be making friend-making tricky for them, we can then think about how to nurture their confidence and skills from a place of genuine connection. And this brings me to something really important, something that underpins everything else we do as parents, creating that safe, loving haven at home. You know, no matter what challenges our children face out in the world, whether it's a tough day at school or a tricky friendship situation, home should always be the place where they feel completely and utterly accepted for who they are, where they know, deep in their bones, that they are loved unconditionally. Think of it like this. When a child feels secure and cherished at home, it's like they have this invisible shield of confidence they carry with them. It doesn't mean they won't face difficulties, but it means they have a strong foundation to bounce back from them. So, how do we cultivate this safe harbor? It's in the everyday moments, really. It's in the warm hugs, the bedtime stories, the family meals where everyone gets a chance to share about their day. The good bits and the not so good bits. It's in truly listening to them, making eye contact, and putting our phones away when they're talking to us. These small acts of connection build a powerful sense of belonging. I often think about how powerful it is when a child comes home, maybe a little bruised by the day, and they can just curl up on the sofa next to you, no questions asked initially, just feeling that warmth and safety. That unspoken reassurance can be incredibly healing. It's also about celebrating their unique qualities, their strengths, their passions, even if those passions aren't what we might have chosen for them. Maybe your child isn't the star athlete, but they're incredibly kind to animals, or they tell amazing stories, or they can get lost in building intricate Lego creations for hours. Highlighting and nurturing these strengths helps them build a positive self-image. When they feel good about themselves, they're more likely to approach social situations with a bit more confidence. I know a family whose son wasn't into team sports at all, which was initially a bit disappointing for his very sporty dad. But then they discovered his incredible talent for drawing comics. They celebrated his art, displayed it proudly, and even helped him start a little comic club with a couple of other kids who shared his interest. He absolutely blossomed, and importantly, it's about teaching them that it's okay not to be perfect, and that setbacks are a part of life. If they come home sad because someone didn't want to play with them, we can empathize with their disappointment, of course, but we can also gently frame it as a learning experience, rather than a catastrophe. We can say something like, "It's disappointing when that happens, isn't it? Sometimes people just feel like playing different things or with different people, and that's okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you." This helps them build resilience, that inner strength to keep trying. Think of it as teaching them to ride the waves of social interaction, rather than trying to calm the entire ocean for them. I remember when my own daughter was starting a new school, she was quite worried about making friends. And for the first few weeks, she'd come home a little deflated. Instead of pushing her to just go talk to people, we focused on making our evenings really cozy and connected. We'd play her favorite board games, read extra stories, and just let her know that home was her happy place, no matter what. Gradually, as she felt that unwavering support, she started to open up more at school, little by little. That foundation of security at home really seemed to give her the courage she needed. So, never underestimate the power of that loving base you provide. It's the bedrock for so much of their emotional well-being and social development. Now, once we've created that safe space at home and we're working on understanding our child's specific challenges, we can start to think about gently nurturing those social skills we talked about earlier. And I use the word gently very intentionally here, because the last thing we want to do is put more pressure on a child who's already feeling anxious or struggling. This isn't about turning them into the most popular kid in school. It's about helping them develop the tools they need to form meaningful connections in their own way and at their own pace. One way to do this is through something called social stories or role-playing. This might sound a bit formal, but it can actually be quite playful and fun. For instance, if your child is worried about how to join a game at recess, you could act it out together. You could be the child playing, and they could practice different ways to ask if they can join in. "Hey, that game looks fun. Can I play too?" Or, "What are you guys playing? Mind if I join?" You could try out different scenarios. What if the children say yes? What if they say no? How can they respond in a way that feels okay for them? Maybe if they say no, your child could practice saying, "Okay, maybe another time," and then look for something else to do. This kind of practice, in a safe and supportive environment, can make the real-life situation feel a lot less daunting. It's like giving them a little rehearsal before the main performance. My friend did this with her son, who was very shy, using his favorite stuffed animals as the other kids in the playground. It made it less intimidating and even a bit silly, which helped him relax and learn. We can also weave conversations about social cues into everyday life. When you're watching a TV show or reading a book together, you could pause and talk about how the characters are feeling or why they acted a certain way. Why do you think that character looked sad when the other one said that? Or how could they have solved that disagreement in a different way? This helps children learn to read facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. All those subtle signals that are so important in social interactions. Even something as simple as noticing how a friend's face lights up when you give them a compliment can be a little lesson in social connection. Another really powerful approach is to encourage your child to participate in activities they genuinely enjoy. This could be anything: a sports team, an art class, a coding club, a drama group, scouting. The beauty of this is that they're more likely to meet other children who share their interests. And when children have a shared passion, conversation often flows more naturally. They have something to talk about, something to do together. It takes the focus off the explicit goal of making friends and puts it on having fun and exploring an interest. Friendships can then blossom more organically from that shared experience. It's less about forcing connections and more about creating opportunities for them to happen. For example, if your child loves animals, volunteering at a local animal shelter, if age-appropriate and supervised, or joining a nature club, could connect them with like-minded peers. And of course, We are their most important role models. Our children are always watching us, learning from how we interact with others. So, when they see us being friendly and respectful to the cashier at the grocery store, or when they see us inviting a friend over for coffee and engaging in warm conversation, they're learning valuable lessons about how to build and maintain relationships. Showing them how we navigate our own friendships, including any ups and downs, or how we strike up a conversation with a new neighbor, can be incredibly instructive. They see us taking small social risks, and that can make it seem less scary for them to do the same. Remember that little boy down the street who was always so quiet? His mom told me she started by inviting just one other child from his class over for a very short, structured play date, maybe just an hour, with a specific activity planned, like building a Lego castle or baking cookies. This took away a lot of the pressure of unstructured play and helped him build a connection with one child at a time. She made sure the environment was calm and that her son felt he had some control over the situation by choosing the activity. It was a slow process, but gradually he started to feel more comfortable and confident. Sometimes, those small intentional steps can make all the difference. It's about finding what works for your child and supporting them in a way that feels right for both of you. And finally, it's important to remember that we're not alone in this journey. Sometimes, despite our best efforts at home, our child might continue to struggle significantly with making friends. And that's when it can be really helpful to partner with others, like their teachers or the school counselor. They see our children in a different environment, and they often have a wealth of experience and strategies that can be incredibly valuable. Opening a line of communication with your child's teacher can be a great first step. You could schedule a brief meeting or send a thoughtful email, simply sharing your observations and concerns in a non-blaming way. For example, you might say something like, "I've noticed Leo seems to be having a bit of a tough time connecting with other children during recess, and I was wondering if you've observed anything similar, or have any suggestions for how we can support him both at home and at school." Teachers are often very attuned to the social dynamics in their classrooms and may have insights or ideas that we haven't considered. They might be able to gently facilitate interactions, pair your child with a friendly classmate for a project, or suggest school clubs or activities where your child might thrive. One teacher I know had a lunch bunch group for kids who found the cafeteria overwhelming, and it was a wonderful way for them to connect in a smaller, quieter setting. School counselors, if your school has one, can also be a wonderful resource. They are trained to help children with social and emotional challenges, and they can often work with your child individually or in small groups to build social skills, confidence, and coping strategies. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. They're there to support students in exactly these kinds of situations. They might run social skills groups that your child could join or offer some one-on-one sessions to talk through their worries. However, there's also a delicate balance to strike here. While it's important to advocate for our children and seek support when needed, it's also crucial to give them space to navigate some of these challenges themselves, with our encouragement from the sidelines. We can't always be there to orchestrate their friendships or smooth over every social bump. Part of growing up is learning how to manage disagreements, how to deal with rejection sometimes, and how to initiate connections independently. Over-intervening can sometimes inadvertently send the message that we don't think they're capable of handling things on their own, or it can make them overly reliant on us. It's like when they're learning to walk. We hold their hand for a while, but eventually we have to let go so they can find their own balance. So it's about being attuned to when to step in and when to step back. If your child comes home and says, "Tommy wouldn't play with me today," instead of immediately calling Tommy's mom or marching into the school, perhaps you can first listen, empathize, and then brainstorm with your child some things they could try next time. "That sounds disappointing, sweetie. What do you think you might do tomorrow? Is there someone else you could ask to play with? Or a game you could start yourself and invite others to join? This empowers them to become problem solvers and builds their social competence. Of course, if the situation involves bullying, persistent exclusion that is causing significant distress, or if your child's anxiety or sadness about friendships is severe and ongoing, then it's absolutely time to step in more assertively and work closely with the school. Your child's safety and well-being are paramount. And in some cases, if the difficulties are causing significant anxiety or sadness, or if they seem to be part of a broader pattern of developmental challenges, seeking advice from a child psychologist or therapist can be a really positive and helpful step. There's no shame in seeking professional support. It's a sign of proactive and loving parenting, of wanting the very best for your child. It's a dance, isn't it? This parenting journey, a dance of knowing when to lead, when to follow, and when to simply stand by and offer a loving, supportive presence. Trust your instincts. You know your child best. And remember, the goal isn't necessarily to create a child who is the life of every party or surrounded by dozens of friends, but a child who feels confident in themselves, who knows how to form genuine, meaningful connections, however few or many, and who feels supported and loved no matter what. Navigating these social waters with our children, it truly is a journey, isn't it? A journey filled with moments of worry, for sure, but also so many opportunities for connection, for understanding, and for watching our children grow in ways that can fill us with such quiet pride. It's not always about finding immediate solutions or making the problem disappear. Sometimes it's more about walking alongside them, hand in hand, as they learn and develop these incredibly important life skills. Each small step they take, each little bit of courage they muster to reach out to another child, is a victory to be celebrated. And as we do this, as we strive to understand them more deeply, to create that unwavering sense of safety at home, and to gently guide them, we're not just helping them make friends. We're nurturing their emotional intelligence, their resilience, their empathy, their ability to understand themselves and others. We're helping them become more fully themselves, comfortable in their own skin, and capable of navigating the beautiful complexities of human connection. And that, in itself, is such a beautiful and worthwhile endeavor. Please remember, you're doing a wonderful job. The very fact that you're here, seeking ways to support your child, speaks volumes about your love and dedication. There will be good days, and there will be challenging days. There will be moments when you feel like you've got it all figured out, and moments when you're searching for answers, feeling a little lost yourself. That's all part of this incredible, messy, beautiful process of parenting. Be gentle with yourself, just as you are with your child. Trust in your ability to connect with them, to listen to their heart, and to provide the steady, loving presence they need. You are their anchor, their safe harbor. And with your compassionate support, they will find their way. They will learn, they will grow, and they will forge connections that enrich their lives. Keep that hope alive in your heart and celebrate the unique, wonderful person your child is and is becoming. If this conversation has resonated with you, if it's offered even a little bit of comfort or a new perspective, we'd be so grateful if you'd consider liking this video and sharing it with other parents who might find it helpful. And if you haven't already, we'd love for you to subscribe and become part of our Family Connection Hub community. We're all in this together, learning and growing as parents, and supporting each other along the way. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Take good care.